Alright, combining like terms, we're kicking it up a notch. Okay, as a reminder, distributive property. Using the distributive property, the way we've talked about, produces equivalent expressions. Whether we use the factored version of an expression or the simplified version, they represent the same value. When you see this version in an example where the directions say simplify, you will need to perform the distribution. So we would use 2x plus 8. We wouldn't use 2x plus, or 2 times the quantity x plus 4. But it's important to remember that those two things are equivalent. This is a quick review, extra practice for people who have struggled with using the distributive property either to simplify or to factor. So a key thing to remember that using the distributive property the way we've talked about produces equivalent expressions. Whether we use the factored version of an expression or the simplified version, they represent the same value. So that's an important thing to note. The example I have written here, 2 times the quantity x plus 4 is equal to 2x plus 8. So if we were given this side of the equation, it would say simplify or distribute, and you would do, let me draw in my arrows, you would do your distribution. Okay, here are a couple of examples that involve distribution. This should be just a reminder. When we see this problem, 6 times the quantity, 3x plus 4, the first thing that we need to do is draw in the arrows so that we remember what to do. And then we perform the multiplication. 6 times 3x is 18x. And 6 times 4 is 24. So simplified, this expression will be written as 18x plus 24. This next one, we've got some distribution and then just some extra pieces. So we need to first do those distributions, and we know that 2 times 11x equals 22x, 2 times 9 equals 18, and we're going to copy the rest of that problem, minus 7 plus x squeezed in there. Now when we look at what we've got after we do the distribution, what do we see? It should jump out at us that we've got like terms. We've got positive 18 and negative 7 are like terms, they're constants, and 22x and this x that's barely hanging on there. So when we combine our like terms, 22x plus 1x is 23x, and 18 minus 7 is going to be positive 11. So we started from here, we executed this distribution, and this is where we ended up. From there, we need to identify the like terms and simplify by combining any things that can be combined. So we went from here, simplified, the answer would be 23x plus 11. Okay, here's another example. We've got a number times a quantity, which we know means distribute, and then we've got another number times a quantity, which is more distributing, and then we've just got this constant term at the end that's just kind of hanging out. So let's go through and do all of that. Now remember, when you have minus a number times a quantity, change that to plus negative so that we know when we multiply, when we distribute, that 3 is a negative 3 being distributed to both terms. So let's go through and do this. 4 times 2x is 8x, plus 4 times 7 is 28. Now we can stick with plus, but we'll probably change it back to minus in just a minute. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and negative 3 times 8 is negative 24, and then we bring down the 4. Now let's go through and find all of those like terms. We've got an 8x and a negative 3x. I'll change colors. We've got a 28, a negative 24, and a positive 4. X terms first. 8x plus negative 3x is going to be 5x. 28 plus negative 24 is positive 4, plus 4 is 8, so we end up with 5x plus 8 is the simplified version of this big long thing up here. 5x plus 8 is the simplified version. Okay, now I want you to pause the video, copy this problem down, try it on your own, then come back, press play, and see how you did. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you had enough time to get that problem done. We need to look and see that we have a distribution, another distribution, and then just a couple of extra terms hanging out. So if we go through, draw in our arrows, we end up with 6 times y is 6y, plus 6 times 9 is 54, plus 4 times 4y is 16y. 4 times negative 5, or 4 times minus 5, is going to be minus 20. And then just bring down 6d and bring down 2d. Now let's go through and find our like terms. 6y, 16y. 54, negative 20. Remember that the minus sign goes with 20. And then we've got 6d and minus 2d written next to each other. I'm just going to box those together. When we combine, I'm going to write this one first because we like to write our variables in alphabetical order. 6d minus 2d is going to be 4d. 6y plus 16y is going to be 22y. And 54 minus 20 is going to be plus 34. If your terms are not in this order, that doesn't mean your answer is wrong. But just as a rule, we do like to have our variables in alphabetical order. So D would come first, and then Y, and then the constant term we always like to have last. All right. Next up, again, I want you to copy the problem, pause the video, and try it on your own. Come back and see how you did. This is a long one, so I want you to be careful and take your time. Okay, welcome back. We need to find what we need to do first. We have a multiplication here and a multiplication here, so let's execute those. Copy down the rest. I'm going to copy down 8f. I'm going to do 3 times 5f is going to be plus 15f. 3 times negative 11 is going to be negative 33 plus this next set of multiplication. 7 times k is 7k. 7 times 2 is plus 14. Copy down the rest. Minus f plus 9k plus 15. Okay, lots of terms there. Some of them have got to be like terms. That's a minus sign. All right, let's color code those like terms. I have an 8f. I have a 15f. And I have a minus f. Remember, if there's no coefficient there, the coefficient is 1. Just an f by itself, or a negative f by itself, means negative 1f. 8 plus 15 is 23. Minus 1 would be 22f. Okay. Let's look at the k's next. I have, put that in a box, 7k and 9k. Both are positive, so 7 plus 9 is 16. 16k. Then the last thing that we need to add together, I'll change colors for my color coding. We've got a negative 33, a positive 14, and a positive 15. So, negative 13 plus 14. Remember, when we add a negative and a positive, we find the difference and keep the sign of the number with the greater value. So negative 33, let me write a little note over here. Negative 33 plus 14 is going to be the difference between those two. Keep the sign of the one with the greater value. So negative 33 has a greater value. So that means we keep the negative sign Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Keep the negative sign, and the difference between 33 and 14 is 19. So going back to our problem, negative 33 plus 14 is negative 19, and negative 19 plus 15, again, we have a negative and a positive. You're going to find the difference. The difference is 4. Keep the sign of the greater value. Negative 19 is a greater value than 15. So this is going to be negative 4. So finally, when we add all three constant terms, the value that we come up with is, let me fix that. Oop. The value that we come up with is negative 4. So simplified, going from this big long sentence, when we do the distributions and combine like terms, we end up with a simplified answer of 22f plus 16k minus 4. Okay, last one. Let's look at what we have. One distribution, and then just several terms that need to be combined. So let's go through. If you'd like to pause and try this one on your own, I do encourage you to do that. So I should have said that. Then come back and see how you did. We're going to copy down 3xy. We're going to copy down 5x. Copy down minus 7xy plus 3x. And then here's where it gets different. We're going to do these distributions and write down what the multiplied answers are. So 2 times x, we're going to write plus 2x. And 2 times xy, we're going to write plus 2xy. Now, go through and find like terms. xy can only be combined with other xy terms. We've got a negative 7xy, this is 3xy, and 2xy. Then let's look at what else we've got. We've got a 5x. What else goes with that? We've got a 3x and a 2x, and that covers all the terms that are listed there. When we go through and simplify, we're going to combine 3xy minus 7xy plus 2xy. 3 minus 7 is negative 4, plus 2 is negative 2. So our xy term is going to be a negative 2xy. And we've got to combine our x terms, 5x plus 3x plus 2x, all positive, so that makes it easier. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10x. Not too bad, but important to remember that xy and x, these terms cannot be combined. Because in order to be like, in order to combine, they have to be same variables to the same power. So this has an x to the first, this has an x to the first, but it's missing the y piece, so we can't combine them. Okay, next you need to click on the worksheet in Blend Space. You can either open it in Preview and add text boxes, or you can copy the problems and answers into a Pages document. Either way, you need to submit your PDF or your Pages or Word document to Showbie. If you forgot how to log into Showbie, you'll need to check with me on that.